Yeah, I think I sat beside you.
I'd like to call the
I
meeting
got
to
up too
order.
early this morning, sorry.
Thursday, February 12th. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do a roll call.
Commissioner Cecil Pendergrass.
Here.
Vice Mayor Holly Smith.
Here. Obviously, I'm here.
Here.
Jay Johnson.
Here.
Rob Wells. Here. Bill White-Chulis. Morning. Councilman Bill Steinke.
Here, a distance from Pam.
Councilwoman Lori Beatty. Councilwoman Margaret Fuller. Vice Mayor Scott Sauer.
Here. Here.
Councilman Elizabeth Bouchette and Brian Kramer are excused. We do have a quorum.
Great, thank you. First of all, I'd like to introduce, we have our new Assistant County Manager here, Amanda Connolini. She is her first TDC meeting. She's been with the county for many years, and now she's Assistant County Manager. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything, or?
No, good, thank you.
Okay. We'll see if you're always that quiet. Okay, we'd like to, first we need approval of the January 8, 2026 TDC meeting minutes. We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Any public comment on the minutes? Any objection? No objection, motion carries. This time we call for public to be heard. Any public here to be heard? Yes, just go up to the podium, state your name, and tell us about why you're here. Thank you.
Carol Robinson, 1072 Brevity Lane, Fort Myers. I want to announce that we are in the process of creating a new professional orchestra to fill the void of the Southwest Florida Symphony closing on June 30th. We should have a press release coming up in a couple weeks. We will be playing at Barbara B. Mann, but also going out in the community, so that part of our mantra is we're coming to you. The musicians will be all professional musicians with music degrees up to doctorates. They're professors, coaches, teachers, and we're very excited that we're going to be able to bring this to our community again. Anybody have any questions? So the press release should be coming out in 2 weeks. That's when you'll find out what the name is. And we are going to be doing some unique things that haven't been done in a long time.
Great, thank you. Any other public to be heard? Okay, we'll move on to the municipalities to be heard. Any cities here would like to be heard?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure Cape Coral's here, right? Yep.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. My name is Erica Ballard, representing the City of Cape Coral Economic Development. And usually Ashley Anderson is here, but she's not feeling well, like many people. So let's go ahead, see what we have going on. Tourist Development Council, let's see. So visitor impact from past events. We had the Tour de Cape, which ran from January 23rd to the 25th, brought in 6,000 total visitors. So that was pretty good. Then we have the Sunshine State Nationals, BMX, and the UCI World Qualifier, over 4,700 visits. We had the 41st, annual Cape Coral Art Festival. Who doesn't love art? We had 32,900 participants. So that was the past. What's going on right now? Sports in the Cape. We have the Professional Pickleball Association in town, so I'm not sure if anybody loves pickleball, but we have 2 world champions. We have Ben Johns, he's the representing for the men, and Anna Waters, with over 1,300 players. And they are here, it's happening now from the 9th to the 15th. Coming up in the Cape, we have such an exciting weekend going on. We have our Model T show, which begins today, February 12th, from 5 to 7, and is featuring the Del Prados. This weekend, we have the Cape Bike Night, February 14th, so what a great way to celebrate Valentine's Day. And that's going to be Saturday, February 14th, from 5 to 10, Southeast 47th Terrace. And then, of course, we have the Burrowing Owl Festival coming up, so we can be on the lookout for that beginning Saturday, February 28th. tourism spotlight, we wanted to spotlight the Arts in the Cape. So Arts in the Cape is the name of the company. They're located on 1625 Southeast 47 Terrace, open Monday through Wednesday, Monday and Wednesday and Saturdays. That's it. So we have some super exciting things going on in the Cape. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that I can answer for you? No. Thank you. Yes, it
Any
is.
other municipalities? Okay, we'll come back. And next, we have the report of the executive director, Cameron.
Good morning. Let's start with bed tax collection for December, almost 4.3 million. That's a almost 19% increase over last December. And for the fiscal year to date, that would be October through December, we're at almost 10.5 million, up almost 21%. So strong start to the year for bed tax collection. You can see how that looks compared to other Decembers, and we always kind of start with 19, which sort of feels like the last normal year. But with that said, this is the strongest December, minus that fantastic post-pandemic December in 21, but good strong December. In terms of STAR report, occupancy 61.2% for the month. ADR 157.15 and RevPAR 96.14. And then you see the calendar year to date, so that would be the full calendar year, 60.1, 172, and 103.3. Looks like we're starting to see some increases to ADR, but as you know, supply is preventing any growth in occupancy and in fact is inhibiting occupancy. I think for the year we had an 8% growth in supply. I think about a 12% growth in rooms sold, but the numbers don't, of course, add up. So leaving us with this drop in occupancy. Next slide, please. And so you can see how that looks over time. Again, those December 22 was a little bit interesting. Of course, that is when, post-Hurricane Ian, a lot of compression there, not very many rooms available, and of course, high demand for rooms post the hurricane. So that is a little bit of a falsehood, that December of 22, as a friendly reminder. But you can see how that looks. In terms of vacation rentals, seeing increases across the board on the vacation rental side. This is, too, with a pretty good increase in supply there. As we know, more vacation rentals are coming back online, as we're seeing at Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel, and quite frankly, throughout the community, not just in those places, but particularly in those places. But we are seeing growth in occupancy, ADR, and RevPAR there. So I think that is why you're seeing increases to bed tax revenue, is particularly the vacation rentals are influencing that. Our latest hotel room update, and at some point we're going to talk about when is it time to stop talking about this, I think, but we'll have that conversation in the future. I think we're at that point where we're not going to see these numbers change very much. It's going to be new construction that brings back units that were lost as a result of Hurricane Ian.
How many years?
How many years? That's a good question, Mr. Wachulis. I think that's up to the private sector, how that's going to play out. We will see, but
3 to 5.
3 to 5 is your guess? I'd probably say a little bit more, but if you'll remember, I said 10 to begin with, and so we're 3.5 in, so I'd probably say a little bit longer, but we're going to get there. And not only will we get there, we're going to exceed it, and I think we all know that. It's just a matter of time. I've said from the very beginning, people want to come here. There is interest in coming here. They just have to have confidence in the product that we have and that we can deliver. And, I don't know, I was out at Point Estero. They had their, on Fort Myers Beach, had their ribbon cutting, and condos reopened, and, standing up on the penthouse deck there looking over the beach. I mean, it's a perfect environment. We just got to get all the other components in line for them so that they're confident to come back. And, you know, I feel like that's happening. It's just, it's a trudge, right? You know, we're in the trenches right now getting through some of those challenges, but it's going to happen. Yes, sir.
I wonder if there's any efforts being made to kind of engage organizations like the CIM from in the realtor sector, that when they're working with their developers and they're working with you know, their investors, to maybe give them materials and some information that they could promote those areas to those investors to come. You know, certainly we are looking to attract tourism. We can, you know, maybe engage some other entities that their focus is engaging investment in the area, because obviously, like you said, it's a beautiful environment, it's a great opportunity, and those people that are going to the conferences where the investors go and the developers go is kind of where are we going to build our next project, where maybe we could, you know, do something to help them as they deal with the people that will add to our room count.
Excellent suggestion. And, you know, we regularly work with those groups, but more behind the scenes in a one-on-one kind of, you know, we work with a lot of developers. They're coming in, looking at property and other things. And those are a lot of more one-on-one conversations. But I appreciate the suggestion.
Yeah, and just to add to that, you know, where the municipalities are is where the rubber meets the road. They're the conversation, but the developers are working with those entities to say, you know, what do you have available? What can we do? Not only is it a confidence issue, it's a financial issue as well. Confidence is a big deal, but if you aren't established and already have that land, is where we're seeing those ones that were wiped out, the people are rebuilding, that actually the owners. It's a financial concern and an ROI. Got to get the people back before you build. You got to build to get the people back. So, but that is a municipality to municipality conversation that we're having, and certainly we all work with any developers within the boundaries that we have in our own municipalities.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's loaning money when the hotels on Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach are running at 50% occupancy for a year. I mean,
Absolutely. And in Lee County, occupancy is down still. Confidence needs to come back.
I think, again, it's a chicken and an egg. To get the visitors back, we have to have the units. We're getting the units back, but there's other components that have to come back too. The businesses have to come back. The experiential part of it has to come back. It's happening, but it is a bit slower than any of us would like. But the cost of money still is very high. It's coming down, fingers crossed, you know. Had a really great jobs report. Economy appears to be strong out of the gate in 26, and I think there is a lot of optimism. But I think that, you know, it's a bit of a catch-up game we're in right now. And until we, you know, have some of those assets, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But I see only positive going forward.
of course.
No negative aspects to this going forward. We're going to get there.
Yes.
You know you're going to get there. You know you're going to build those 40 units. It's going to happen, and people will love and enjoy it. I mean, you know, I was talking to Brian Schumacher at Point Estero, and he said, a little bit different client now. And when Joseph shares the quarterly data, I noticed income level, a big jump from the previous year's same quarter previous year. I think we're going to see a higher end clientele that's going to have to, you know, be here to meet those new expectations. And so hang tough. I promise it's coming. All right. Next slide, please. Oh, apologies, Rob.
Mine, I guess, question relates to what type of projects would be the remaining projects still to be done. And I don't know if that means much to the people around the table if I'm looking too into this.
Well, in Fort Myers Beach, you got Outrigger, Sandpiper,
Seagate,
Fireside with the Wyndham, Outrigger.
London Bay.
Would it make a difference to the industry if, of the 985 units at Fort Myers Beach that are still closed, 50% of them were sold to an end user that's a condo owner and not turned back into a hotel?
I think there's a good chance that that happens. I think that's,
That's what's happening right now.
For a
That's what I'm
condotel.
assuming, but what
Well, yeah, I mean,
but
is it interesting to anybody what that future, if you surveyed those people that had those, how many of these projects might end up that way versus opening up as the hotels they once were?
Yeah.
John?
It's all about numbers. I mean, we're approving stuff on the beach, but we approve your project. But again, to your point, the money doesn't make sense to do it right now.
We're currently having the conversation on Sanibel that the cost per key doesn't make sense for an investor to build back hotel rooms, and so is 80% the new 100%? And if that's the case, then what do we do? What are we looking at in terms of product? But Tony, I know that you've got an important project to us.
I think what might help in some of the instances, at least on Sanibel, you can take the projects that have broken ground versus the projects that are under drawing board. That would sort of give you a timeline. You know, we know that Island Inn is broken ground, and I'm broken ground on the one that will be done in May. So, you know, if you had those to sort of split out that number, so you say, okay, we still got a bunch on the drawing board, but we know that these will be coming online in a 2 or 3 year period, whatever, if it's broken ground.
I think it, and by the way, I'm trying to keep track. You guys probably have your foot on the ground a little bit better than I do on some of those, especially the elected officials who are seeing those, you know, permits and things come through or requests come through, but we're trying to track them very well. And you know, it's a matter of when it happens. We know what's under construction, right? We know what's happening. There's a lot of other projects that are approved but are not under construction yet. And it's, how do you line up that timing from a marketing standpoint, from an operation standpoint, from a visitor expectation standpoint, from the airport expansion standpoint? I mean, all of those things are issues that we're dealing with for sure.
I mean, my gut feeling would be, Rob, on that number, that 985, I think is going to probably be about the same, because you got projects where the local government has approved more density, and then you have some projects where it's going to be condos versus hotels. I think in the long run, I think it's going to wash out to about the same number.
In fairness, unit count probably won't, it will be different, but it will, I mean, there's much of that product will end up being vacation rental product, right? I mean, you know, second home ownership, a lot of vacation rental, and we've always been our coastal community has always been a strong vacation rental product. We didn't ever have big hotels on the beach. We have a few, but you know, when you look at some other communities in comparison, we've always been vacation rental heavy over hotel heavy on the coast.
If I may, when I look at this hotel room update, you know, we're looking at existing inventory that was existing pre-Ian. You know, there may or should be a way that we're now also incorporating under each one what's in the works, what's planning. I mean, because then these numbers, you know, Sanibel, if we get to 75 or 80%, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but, you know, then we're there. We need to be at 100%. But it would be really helpful if we take this and maybe expand the lens post-Ian, because I think we want to be looking at, okay, we are recovering. We want people to come. We want people to enjoy. Let's also see what's on the books. We always have had that slide, you know, what's planning, what's under construction, and what's actually, digging in the dirt. And maybe you expand that, because then you're going to see where the numbers are, and these numbers are going to go up. And then people might look at, okay, where do I want to put my investment? We don't have things moving on Sanibel or X or Fort Myers Beach, but we do have plenty of rooms that are in the planning all around Lee County. So there could be a dearth somewhere and a plethora someplace else.
I think that's what you're leaning into what I was saying.
Okay.
I think this slide we're at that point where it doesn't have much
It's lost
validity.
its effectiveness.
Right, it's lost. it isn't making the same statement it was before. And I think that, for us, we'd like to look at this differently. So
Optimistically, not of, okay, we're stuck here.
I don't think some of those units are coming back, in fairness, Pine Island, I don't know that those units will come back, right? And I'm not trying to, that's not negativity, that's just where are we, what's going to get rebuilt, what type of product's going to get rebuilt, and let's just start tracking projects that are under construction and projects that are on the books. Yes, sir.
Maybe if we took this and we know it's open and that's our starting point.
Correct.
And then maybe we have 3 columns, one that says expected in the next 12 months, expected in the next 24 months, expected in the next 36 months.
It's a little bit
From the
tricky.
standpoint of planning.
I wouldn't say that's very realistic, but we could put under construction and proposed planning and, approved, correct.
And approved might not ever
It may never happen. I mean,
have a shovel in the ground, so.
we have to be realistic. Timelines it doesn't line up perfectly to your months, and that's what I was trying to say. I think, Bill has an approved project, he may have a timeline, but that's not a publicly known information in every case. So, we keep at it. All right, well, that's good, because I was thinking, it's time to get rid of this slide and, move on in a different direction. So I'm happy for this conversation. Thank you for that feedback. And we may bounce around with some ideas on this, and I'll probably reach out to you one-on-one to try to get some feedback on my thoughts there. But in my mind, when we were talking about this, I'm like, it's kind of time to stop having this conversation. I don't think it's realistic to look at this slide as much as we were. I think we're where we're going to be with this. And I think I told you when we got to 80, we were going to be about there anyway. Next slide, please. All right. Passenger count at the airport was down a tiny bit in December. I think y'all remember there was a lot of weather delays and things that happened in December. I think we'll probably in January. Carol, I don't know. I suspect the January numbers will be a little bit off because of all the challenges. And of course, we started off February with a few too, but I'm not going to complain about snow up north. That's good for us. Remind you guys, snow up north is good for us.
Which is unfortunate, because I think, Carol, is that what it was, probably the weather, because Atlanta and New York, those main hubs, we had great weather here, but
Correct.
they weren't coming in to pick up people, so.
But most importantly, that's another record-breaking year at RSW, and I think that tells a tourism story too, because we know so many of those passengers are visitors to our region, and I think that's very important. So another record-breaking year for RSW. Next slide, please. All right. With that, unless you have questions for me, I'm going to ask Joseph to give you the Q4 24 report, and he's going to give us a little sneak peek of the data for 25. We should have that report early next month. Probably we'll have it available for you, but they're working on all those details now. So Joseph, please take it over.
Thank you very much. Again, Joseph St. Germain, President of Down St. Germain Research. I'll get to talk about October through December 2025. Before I get into the data, just a reminder, I think when James was here last time, we kind of have a new format that allows us to focus on some of the metrics and the origin markets and then do a deeper dive into some of the data points. Note that the full report is still really long and you have all that data in there, but it's just, we figured it better to do a deeper dive into a few data points. As I look into this, again, before looking at the numbers, we're comparing ourselves to a previous fiscal year that we're coming off. Helene was not, there was some recovery for there, and then Milton kind of had some impacts overall. But overall, I look at your figures, they're up year over year, and we work with 15, 16 other markets in Florida where a lot of them were holding steady or down a little bit. So that's something that, from comparative purposes. And as I dive in, I think the overall through, we're really starting to see like the return of this destination as a leisure market. I mean, it's always been a leisure market, but there's been a lot of like other things, whether it be hurricane recovery, things of that nature. So that's when you see some of these big increases in spending. I think it's just because your higher percent of your visitors are your leisure visitors. So let's look at the numbers as a whole. Visitation was up 5% overall, but room nights up 12.5%, direct spending almost up 19%. It's kind of like in line with what you saw with some of the TDT figures. One of the reasons I always mention that TDT figures are kind of accessible, and that's your best indicator of how the market's moving when you're looking at spending throughout the entire market. So I just always mention that. So overall, direct spend, total economic impact, up 19% overall. So again, very, very good news as we move forward. And as I looked at, you saw like the TDT graph, really since 2022, we've seen slow and steady incremental increases every single quarter, year over year. So we're kind of, slow and steady might win the race, but it's definitely kind of where you're going as we move forward. And the other thing that I'll mention, and I'll probably mention again, where we looked at like where the biggest increases were, and Tamara mentioned earlier, people staying in vacation rentals, that's where we saw the biggest increase in spending overall. We saw more people in those. We also saw more people, therefore more money being spent there. And especially in October through December time, where you get more families together, spending time together, that's kind of where we saw the biggest increases. As we look at this is a whole lot of kind of infographic version of, and you've seen some of these figures, but this is for the quarter of, at the top, you have your hotels plus vacation rentals, but campgrounds, slight dips in occupancy, but increase in overall average daily rate. As Tamara mentioned, one of the biggest things there is there's just so many more units available, year over year. So take that into account when you're seeing those occupancy numbers down. Hotels were down in terms of occupancy again, but rate was fairly flat. But once again, if you look at the bottom right, where we saw the biggest increases, not only in occupancy, but average daily rate for those staying in vacation rentals year over year. As I look at the origin markets, again, trying to put a lot of information on one slide, but I want to highlight a few things. Midwest and the Northeast was not only where you have the highest percentage of your visitors, but that's also where we saw the biggest growth. As we look at international, there was one of the things with Canada's the big story right now, where your Canadian visitation decreased from like 6.7% of all your visitors to 5.1%. I think that's always a story. I think the other part of the story that gets left out, it's still your number one international market. So it's both of those things. So and Germany was down only slightly, UK was down slightly. So we saw some slips in international, but still, you still had over 10% of your visitors as international visitors, and that's really, I think, right now, higher than we're seeing in a lot of other markets. As we look at your top origin markets on the right, New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Detroit, Atlanta, Boston, kind of your top 5 or 6 there. For October through December, that's generally kind of your usual suspects in terms of where people are coming from overall. And in October through December, Florida, 8%, that's a little bit higher than you usually see in other quarters overall. October through to December and July through September is where Florida tends to be a top market overall. As Tam mentioned earlier, I just want to look at just a brief look at a visitor profile. She mentioned the income, median income is about $115K. That's very, very, very positive to see as we kind of shift that, especially like right now. Luxury is really, that top end is really where we're seeing the most growth overall in terms of sentiment and also just like willingness to spend money. We were just at TTRA in Charlotte, and if you look at income levels over $150K, that represented almost 2/3 of all travel spending across the nation. So, and it's a similar type relationship here in Fort Myers area. I'm going to get into a few data points and spend a little bit of time on each one. I think one of the biggest things that we noticed this quarter year over year was the influence of your promotions. Number one, there was a 4% increase in ad recall. And again, I think recall is an important word there, not just exposure. These were people when they were in the market. We asked them, do you recall seeing an advertisement or story? So they not only saw it, but they remembered seeing it. And there was a 7% increase in the influence of these advertisements. So basically, 1/4 of all these visitors that you saw this quarter were influenced by some advertisement, story, or what have you. That's generally when we look across the nation, I think norms there are around 1 in 6, so like 16-17%. So that's good to see. I think that's twofold. I think one is as this team continues to evolve your marketing and how you message the destination. I think that's resonating a little bit more. But also, as we get distance from Ian, I think some of those barriers of people willing to listen to that message, I think that's part of it as well. So I think it's both of those things as we look at overall. As we look at where they're noticing it on the graph, online and social media continues to dwarf a lot of different places, but at the same time, you still look at 7 different mediums of where at least 10% of your visitors recalled an ad or story in these places. So it's just the importance. Anytime I see a graph like this, I think some people are going to look at the top and see that's more important, and you're not wrong. But also, it's just important to live in a world where there are so many different channels where people are getting their information. It's important to be in a lot of different places overall. Along those same lines, we're really starting to see the loyal and repeat visitors who've kind of been your bread and butter. We saw more of them coming back. That doesn't, that there may have been a time as I look at this data. Again, not all of these things I can tell causally, but I kind of can infer from the data points. Some folks who may have been coming here a lot of years, they may have taken 3 years off post-Ian, but I think they're starting to return. Again, that message of it just feeling like people are more open to the idea of a leisure market, and we get to some of these satisfaction figures, you'll kind of see that as well. But overall, we saw more loyal visitors, but also in another way, I think, which is really important to note, there's a lot more people who didn't even consider other destinations, which I think is always one of the things post-Ian, we just saw even folks who came, they were looking at other places as well. So I think there's just those folks who are like, hey, we're just going back to the Fort Myers area again. So that's good to see overall. Why people are visiting is another piece, again, getting to that point of like things that are related to leisure really increased year over year, things that are related to recovery and other things decreased. So as we look at things like relaxing and unwinding was the number one reason people came to the area. Now, I highlight this for 2 reasons. As we looked at every year I send your team and other teams just like, I read way too much, but it's just like what are the trends that we're seeing for this year? Relaxing and unwinding has always been an important reason for why people travel, but that's only increasing this year. As we get in a busier, faster world, people want to slow down the most on vacation. So we saw that increase. Also an increase of coming to the beach, even in October through December. I think those two are always related to each other. I think my team has heard me say this a lot. The beach is the physical manifestation of relaxing and winding for many people who travel, but that's where we saw an increase. And another thing that we're seeing, not only here but in other places, increase in nature, environment, bird watching, things of that nature. Again, kind of like we live in a fast-paced environment where we're looking at our phones a lot. How do we get away from that is where we're starting to see a shift. And now, admittedly, it's still only like 1 in 8 of your visitors, but when you're talking about the scale we're talking about, that's a lot of people overall. And then so those were where we saw some big increases in typical leisure categories. But the other thing is like coming to check in my property. It was at 15% a year ago, down to 7%. So it's like, and those, it's not that they're not important visitors, but they're having a much different spending pattern than your leisure visitor. And typically your leisure visitor is going to spend a little bit more. But also, just any work-related hurricane recovery down a few percentage points overall. So again, just trying to highlight the things that that's in the data, but trying to pull out some of the insights overall. And then finally, before I move to some quotes, and then as Tamara mentioned, a little snapshot to what we saw for the fiscal year, the biggest difference year over year were increase in their satisfaction for why they came. A 10% increase for people who were very satisfied with their visit, a 10% increase for people very to return, and a 9% increase in people very likely to recommend the area. Again, this is more of like, and also on top of all that, as we look at like concerns, which isn't on this slide, but concerns of like when you're here, traffic is still number 1, but also things related to hurricane recovery dipped dramatically overall. And the biggest thing overall, concerns overall last year were 24% had absolutely no concerns, 42% had no concerns. So we're really starting to see an increase in the satisfaction of their trip, as I think not only are you looking like just a full-on leisure destination, but I just think those remnants of what looks like a hurricane, people, we're starting to see it in the satisfaction scores. Don't get me wrong, as we just had a conversation, that's still happening, but the perception of it seems to be less and less amongst the visitor, which is resulting in some higher satisfaction metrics. I always like to, as we close the quarter, and again, these small, so I'll just kind of read a couple of the quotes, because I just think it helps bring some of this data to life as you look at a full report. But like, these are just, hey, how would you describe the area? And these are actual quotes. It's a chill mix between beach town energy and quiet Florida nature. It's not crazy fast-paced like Miami or super packed like Orlando, more laid back, sunny, and easygoing. The beaches are the main vibe: soft sand, warm water, calm waves, and sunsets over the Gulf that look unreal. It's the kind of place where you can just chill all day by the water, rent a kayak, go shell hunting at Sanibel, or just walk around and eat ice cream. Which that last part was kind of my evening last night. I just walked around downtown eating some ice cream. That's quite a nice day. But that quote right there is really kind of, in quote form, some of the data that I talked about. We're increasing this relaxation. It's a place where they can slow down in a world that's very difficult to slow down. The bottom one is, we bought our second home years ago because more affordable than some areas in Florida. It's been a great investment and winter retreat for us. The proximity to beautiful beaches make this area so special. We enjoy a relaxed lifestyle with lots of boating, golf, and plenty of other outdoor activities. I bring that one to life just as a reminder. Tourism is kind of why this board is there, but it also leads to economic development as folks move here and things of that nature. And when we did a resident opinion study for you folks a couple years back, we noted, I can't remember the number, but a significant percentage of your residents were visitors. So just a reminder as we kind of have that. And finally, as Tamara mentioned, we're still working through the annual report. So things like jobs and wages support and things of that nature, we still need to run those things. But I just want to give you a little snapshot of what the figures look year over year. And again, we see that incremental change overall. Visitation and the number of days in the market were up about 3 or 4%. Room nights, direct spend, economic impact were up about 7% year over year. And then that same relationship, as we just talked about earlier, for October through December, occupancy is down a little bit, but there are significantly more units available, and we saw an increase in ADR year over year. So this is kind of the snapshot as we work through that full report, but since we're here and we had it ready, I just wanted to get a sense of it. So again, as we look at everything, some incremental increases overall. As you folks said a minute ago, there's still recovery to be done, but it's nice to see it not only anecdotally in what you see with your eyes, but also the numbers support what you're seeing in your eyes. So again, a whistle-stop tour through October through December and a brief highlight on the year, but I always like to open up to questions or discussion.
Joseph, can you just go back to the influence of promotional slide? I wanted to pick your brain on, where AI is, where you see it and where it's going. Obviously, internet and social media are the big drivers, but where you see AI coming into this?
That if I knew the answer all the way, I'd be doing this presentation from my yacht. But but to your point, some of the trends that we're seeing, like AI isn't going away. Clearly, I think one of the things that we're noticing is we are starting to seeing a lot more adoption of using it in the trip planning cycle, and even we're getting to the point of it being booking, or at least getting them to that point. A couple of things there is trends and the things that we're reading. It's kind of like you have your ads and your messaging for humans, which look one way, but then also we're hearing a lot of you're putting a lot of your digital content, you want to make sure you're one of the sources that AI is pulling from, so you can kind of control that narrative. So it's almost like you have messaging for the humans and messaging for the computers, because that kind of helps the humans understand the world a little bit easier. I mean, even, Tam.
I was just going to add a little bit, Bill. This is a big conversation we're having internally, because you know what's happening, and you do a Google search and the AI response comes up, and people they've stopped clicking through to websites. So does it make sense for us to have this big investment in a website, and what content needs to be on that website that feeds, you want it to be more of a content hub that's feeding the AI models, right? The LLMs, not to use too many acronyms, but large language models. I mean, it's a big conversation. The market, consumer behavior is significantly changed. And so we have to take that into account in everything we do. And I can tell you from a VCB standpoint, some of that might be a little painful on the front end, but I think, we're going to make some moves based on behavior that will absolutely change the future of our website.
I mean, we're starting to see callers that have gone into ChatGPT and typed in, give me a Florida resort on the beach with a beach view, and it's listing 3 hotels. And I think everything's going to evolve to where it says, go ahead and book that for me, and it's making the reservation for you. I mean, that's going to be the future. But right now, we're getting people calling us saying, we found you on ChatGPT. It's like, okay, great. That's good. We're showing up, but I think that's going to be, it's where we are now.
I think that, again, we need to have a industry training section on LLMs. Quite frankly, that's probably something we need to get around. But I think how you build the information about your property or your offering that feeds into AI is going to be critical going forward.
We're literally rebuilding the whole Pink Shell website just based on that.
Correct.
So, I mean, because...
No, exactly, and that's the conversation we're having. That's going to be a very different website than the one we have now. And again...
So, do you think that's going to happen this year, or?
Maybe not. Yes and no. It's happening as we speak, but over time, I think you'll be seeing big transition there, yeah. But in fairness, what I say today won't be what I say 3 months from now because the model will change again, right? We have to be flexible and evolve with the way that's going. But I do think that AI is absolutely changing vacation planning.
If you think it's a bubble,
it's not a bubble.
It's not a bubble.
It is not a bubble.
I pulled everything while we were talking, everything, just keyed in some stuff, and then after you said it, pulled in what amenities are open, give the star rating. It said, call your chambers. It actually says that as well. I'm sure y'all use it a lot. I do too. And I also check to see the validity of what it gives us.
The conversation that we're having is that our website used to be for visitor consumption. Now it's actually feeding the results of the AI. To your point, we still see the website very heavily trafficked, but not by Mr. Milky looking to plan a vacation, by ChatGPT. And it's pulling data from our site to feed Mr. Milky trying to plan a vacation. So how do you count those referrals? Yeah, that's the hardest part for us. And so we are doing the same thing as Stam is, which is sitting down and trying to figure out how to redo our site to better be a trusted source for that.
Yeah. Jay had a question.
I have a point. Last night, the Horizon Council hosted 3 high school teams that were working on a project with AI and STEM. And one of the kids, 17 years old, starts talking about how he books a vacation with his family, and it was all AI. It listed what they wanted to do, asked AI to find a location, and to give them 3 options, and then price it out, and which was the best value for their dollar, all through AI to determine where they were going to go on their trip. And I thought that was, it blew my mind a little bit about how deep and how much trust they have in AI to determine where they're going to go. It wasn't even where in this market, it was what market to go to.
And that's the challenge, right? Because now the world is bigger.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's bigger.
They put in the list of what they wanted to do and asked AI to find it.
Yeah.
But it's smaller.
Yeah,
the
correct.
world is smaller now because
Correct.
it used
But
to be
what I mean is the option,
or
the plethora of options that are being provided to them is even higher. But I do think the other side of this is the ways we vacation plan are different than the ways other generations vacation plan. And I say that to you, I guarantee you that Holly's sons and my daughter do not use destination websites to plan their vacations. Doesn't happen. They do it differently. And so we have to balance out our generation, and sorry, I'm lumping us all together. I realize we may be different generations.
I might be the oldest.
But at the end of the day, the way we plan a vacation versus the way the next generation plans the vacation is a little bit different. And so we have to balance out being responsive to all of those layers of vacation planning. But I promise you, it's happening.
I think why we say we're successful in this area is consumer experiences. That consumer experience, they come down here, they stay at the Pink Shell, they stay at Twin Waters, wherever they stay at, they come down, they stay here, and they tell their family, friends, and guess what? They come back next year and they bring more people come, and I don't know, sometimes I meet people that's moved here and they follow their family here because they came here on vacation. They came to Sanibel, and they, oh yeah, we went to Sanibel for years vacation, and we wound up moving here, and that's just that experience. As long as they keep those experiences up, that, you know, that likability of come here and having a good time, and people continue to come here. That's really important too, though. But yeah, it's different. Marketing is totally different. It's changed the whole world. Society's so different in this world of this. And you look at the political world. 10 years ago, you could run an ad in the newspaper and put some yard signs up, be done. But now, people don't read the newspaper. They don't watch TV because they stream stuff now. So yeah, it's just so different. You have 50 different venues to touch people to market your product, and that's what we're seeing here. So it's different. Totally different, though. Any other questions for Joe?
I got one more for Tina. I don't want to get into the hot dog, but the challenge with 26 and the website, is it budget challenge?
No, we're working on it.
Oh, so we've
We're
got the
working.
funds and everything?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
No, budgeted, just
Got it.
working out the logistics,
Got
right?
it. It's
And when I
a
said
lot of work.
when I said it was going to be painful, I mean, you know, I think for years the partners have appreciated those referrals. There's no such thing as a referral anymore. With this, again, this AI search model, nobody's clicking through to anything. So your referrals from our website are over, right? I mean, not over. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. But that's not something any of us are counting on it anymore, right? People are getting to us in a different way. So when I said it was going to be painful, Bill, I was talking about what we're used to versus the new version of it, not financial in any way. No, as you know, we have a financial plan for that website update on almost a constant basis. Wholesale update about every 3 years, but we're always tweaking and adding and enhancing. Yes, sir.
Joseph, same slide. What do you attribute, or do you even sourcing when people are coming down here to purchase property or second home investment property? When you get that response, where does it go?
For like that is, let me see. There, I think we had main reason for visiting. I need to check with that because that's included, but I guess it's not on that slide. But usually it's like
I'm trying to figure it out and I couldn't.
Not in the top, probably is the top response.
Yeah, and it's also their behavior when they're here is different than your typical leisure visitor. Of course, you know it's a little bit more, for lack of a better phrase, business. You know, I mean it's not a business trip, but that's something that we capture. But I need to take a deeper dive into the data to recall where that is.
And in fairness, sir, I think, are you likely to complete that survey if you're here for that? You know, a leisure traveler has a little bit different, you know, responsiveness to, yeah, I'll complete your survey, than if I'm here to accomplish a task. And, you know, I think when you're looking at real estate, you're kind of focused. I don't know, I just made a business vacation trip, and, you know, that you have a different mindset, so.
And if I may, when you know, we're here because we're here for the bed tax dollars and enhancing the tourism experience in Lee County, that's a different conversation. And our function is, how do we attract visitors here versus owners? That's a different job, a different tax, and that's not what our bed tax dollars are here or were established.
Well, respectfully, if they're using our hotels and our restaurants because they're looking for something more.
And it might be that next step, but here we're all about tourism, and you know, we know that you bring a tourist here and they love it here, then that could be a business coming or a home being bought. But I always try to keep that silo as a collector, as a hotelier of the bed tax, and understanding where our dollars go to for that function.
But certainly relocation, though, attracts people that stay in the hotels.
Of course.
So for us not to, for us to ignore the thought that when people are looking to buy here, that they have to come here temporarily first. And so, you know, for us to be interested in how we're being looked at as a relocation potential would certainly drive traffic here to spend nights in our hotel rooms or our vacation rentals rather than Albuquerque or whatever. So it's still certainly
Or Orlando or Fort Lauderdale.
Fed tax dollars as people are considering where they would go. Where do we want them to spend the night as they look?
I mean, again, Joseph's slides today do not have reason for visit, but we asked them the reason for their visit. It's in the full report if you look through it. So that information is contained, is what I'm trying to say.
We had one slide that did have that, and I actually made note of it, that it might not be, because they were able to have multiple responses. And so why did you come here? And so if one of those was relocation, you know, potential relocation or whatever, we could see if they were actually here looking for a job, if they were here looking for a new home.
What I'm saying to you is there are more responses in that category, but it doesn't necessarily mean, the reason he has the other is because he's summarizing all the other ones in that list. There are other reasons on that list. Just not raising to the bar of it showing up on that top 20 there or whatever it is. I'm sorry, I can't count that fast, but.
And along those lines too, it's like we're about to send their team like some potential tweaks to the questionnaire, and I'm going to take this conversation as I review this, whether it was the comment on AI or comment on this, I'll just make sure when I talk to James of making sure those things are included. That way we have something moving forward, because this is always a moving document. We're not trying to change a lot of stuff, but we want to make sure it's up to date. And also secondly, like as we updated this reporting, if there's something that you wanted to see every month, always feel, or every quarter, just let us know. We want to update this so you can use it as best you can. So as we review those things, that's on my desk to review before sending to Tamara and the team. We'll make sure we check those boxes and sure, just to double check and triple check, because we want to make sure this is as useful as it can be to you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you as always.
Thank you.
All right. With that, sir, I conclude my report.
Great, thank you, Tamara. Next, we have Jeff Nokia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Council. So today we're going to go over October through December 2025, and then we're going to do a 2025 impact analysis as well. So next slide, please. So October 2025, 17,000 room nights filled with sports events. You can see that is really anchored by Perfect Games Underclass World Championships, which was 15,000 of those rooms. This is an event that literally fills every single baseball field in our destination, from spring training to high school fields to municipality parks and rec facilities. And that draws in about 14,000 visitors and about $7 million direct visitor spend. There you can see the comparable. Next slide, please. So November is become our largest sports tourism month. It used to be July, and now it's kind of turned into November. And part of that is the Roy Hobbs World Series, but a lot of it has to do with the success and the growth of our Thanksgiving week college basketball tournaments. During that time of the year, we hosted about 34,000, or filled about 34,000 room nights, hosted 23,000 visitors, generated about $15 million of direct visitor spending. So to talk about those basketball tournaments for a moment, though, they were in two different locations. The old Gulf Coast Showcase moved from Hertz Arena to FGCU and became known as Coconut Hoops Fest. That entire tournament was stayed in the Hyatt Coconut Point, filled up their entire hotel throughout the month of throughout the week of Thanksgiving. And then the other Fort Myers tip-off was split between the Westin Cape Coral and Sanibel Harbor Resort. So, again, filling up those restaurants during a Thanksgiving week when typically those destinations are in need of some tourism. I will go over Fort Myers tip-off at the end of this, the media value, but these tournaments are just a great example. Tam and I talk a lot about placemaking and trying to make sure that not only are we having a positive tourism impact on our destination, but we're also affecting the citizens that live here, the media value of what we do. And this is, Fort Myers Tip-Off to me is one of the true examples of that, where And you'll see in a little bit, but all of our ads are transferred to the Visitor and Convention Bureau, and they do all the marketing for it. And you'll see that over 5 million people at a time are seeing our destination ads. Parks and Recreation is managing all of the practice facilities for these teams and delivering this incredible level of customer service. Our hoteliers are involved, our restaurants are involved, and our economic development office is involved. They work with Mary Kaufman's in the room. Mary was able to host a lot of local businesses into this event for different purposes. So I think the success story of our college basketball tournaments is really cool to see. This was our 8th year of the Fort Myers tip-off, and that was our end of our contract. So we are starting to renegotiate a new 4-year deal with them, and we'll see where that goes. But you can see the trend line there, 35,000. I thought we were going to hit a new mark, but we didn't quite hit there. We got close, yeah. December 2025, filled 11,000 room nights through sports, about 8,600 visitors, $4 million direct visitor spending. Perfect Game had 2 or 3 events. City of Palms Basketball Classic, which we all know is one of the marquee high school tournaments in the country. It did a couple of their events. We're on ESPN2, I believe. And so we got some media value out of that as well. And then we hosted a conference that comes here every once in a while, which is the National High School Baseball Coaches Conference, which is at Sanibel Harbor Resort. And there is our December. We'll jump now to 2025 highlights. So our benchmark year was 2 years ago, 186,000 room nights filled through sports. This year was our second best year. The good news is that we had 175,000 sports visitors, which to me should have bumped that number higher. But as we talked about for June and July, our tournaments have, especially our summer tournaments, have gone from 7-day events down to 6-day or 5-day events because parents just don't want to stay at these tournaments as long anymore. And so the room nights have gone down a little bit, but the visitors are going up. So I don't know if this is a new normal or whether or not we can do anything about extending that stay back one additional night during the summertime, but we're working on it. The direct visitor spend was around $77 million. We hosted 165 events. We had historic months of February and April. We continue to work hard on international sports business. We will host Quinn when 2 weeks from now Netherlands comes in, or 1 week?
Yeah, it's close to coming up, week and a half.
Week and a half, so we're going to host the Netherlands national baseball team. Is going to train here for 2 weeks as they prepare for the World Baseball Classic. It's also a preview for them to use Lee County as a training site for the 2028 Summer Olympic Games. So we're working on the European teams right now. Some of you remember Ireland. We put some effort into the Ireland women's fast pitch team. They played in the European Championships bronze medal game in this summer, and they lost, so they got 4th place. But their entire social media campaign was around thanking 2 or 3 of their sponsors, which we are one of, for the incredible support. So the Fort Myers brand was splashed all over Ireland sports in July, and so that was cool to see. And then we had a new youth baseball product this summer, which really helped, which was the Caribbean Youth Baseball Worlds. And it's a good story in the fact that another destination cleared their entire week facility calendar in hopes of getting this event next year, and they're going to have to find another piece of business because it's staying in Lee County. So this will grow and get bigger, and we're going to continue to help that. And I can't remember, Quinn, how many international teams played it? 50?
Last year was 50. We're looking at hopefully 80.
Yeah. So we have 50 youth teams playing from outside of our continental United States. So. Next one is just a reminder that Twins and Red Sox continue to just be incredible anchors for our destination. In February and March last year, finished 3rd and 4th. They always finish in the top 4 in some random order, and we're looking forward to having a great spring training with them in 2026. We hosted the 12th consecutive year of Florida High School Baseball State Championships, and we have signed a new agreement with them. So we start a new 3-year agreement in 2026. NAIA Sun Conference Baseball came back. That's basically Ave Maria and St. Thomas and NAIA colleges, but they're now calling Lee County home in May for their national or for their conference baseball championships. And then we hosted 2 national sports business conventions in 25. One of those is in partnership with the Visitor and Convention Bureau, the American Hockey Coaches Association, which signed I believe it was a 5-year deal with us. So, and then we'll host 2 in 2026. One of which was already hosted in January, and it was called Sports Express. It was at Pink Shell, and we're getting all the feedback now, and it was one of the most successful conferences they've ever hosted. We conscientiously tried to make sure that so much of the business and the investment that this conference was making was in our local community. And we did things at the Whale. We did closing ceremonies at Cantina Marina. We used the Dunes Golf Club. We came downtown Fort Myers for a not-so-amazing race, they called it, and visited a lot of downtown businesses that day and had our closing dinner at Bay Street Yard. So this conference touched a lot of different corners of our destination and really opened the eyes of about 30, 35 what we call rights holders to our destination, how great Southwest Florida is as not only as a place for them to vacation with their families, but also to bring sports events. So next slide, you can see our total, again, just right below our all-time mark. Really quickly, I want to go through just the media value of the Fort Myers tip-off. Next slide. So you can see that, as you'll remember that the Fox game on Thanksgiving Day between North Carolina and Michigan State set Fox's all-time viewership record for men's basketball. Down at the bottom, the entire men's tournament drew over 7 million viewers. Next slide. You can see just some of the images, not only on the right picture, you can see the LED board with the visitfortmyers.com logo on it. Again, national television on Fox. Next slide. Next slide. This was the women's tip-off, which was another 8 teams. If you look at those brands, those are big-time college basketball women's brands. And again, this was all at Suncoast Arena. But they had 670,000 viewers, and this was all games were on ION, which was pretty cool because ION is a growing channel, and a lot of people were locked into the ION network for this women's basketball product. Next slide. You can see they had their own look and feel. Fort Myers was sponsoring the assist of the game, and we also were sponsoring the starting lineups. Next slide. Some images there. Next slide. And this at the bottom, we still have to get it verified by MMGY, but this was a media package of over 5.1 million. The biggest media package we've ever seen was 2.8, and that was the year that Kansas and Gonzaga played on national television in the COVID year. It was also on Thanksgiving Day, but so for our $220,000 TDT investment to get $5 million in media value is great, and that. Yeah, and this event is just the perfect example of how this entire community works together, and all the departments throw in, and we all collaborate and make this place really visible during that time of year. So that is my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Jeff? It's the time of year of baseball. You got a game Sunday? Are you going to be there for the game Sunday? We're doing are you going to be at the game Sunday?
Yeah. And that's what, Victor? When's your first game too? Saturday. Yep. So we have spring training is just right around the corner. We're exciting time of year for us. So
Red Sox are recognizing Commissioner Greenwell that day and his family. Did you have a question? Was there a question over here? Jay?
Just real quick on the Fort Myers tip-off, and more to Mary Coffin, who's in the room, just to publicly congratulate her on a great product and to thank her for including so many businesses. There's a lot of local people that were out working Thanksgiving Day and making the most of that tournament. So great job, Mary.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Next business, we have to approve the quarterly 1 fiscal year 26 budget report. April's here for that.
Good morning, everyone. For the record, I'm April Green, your fiscal manager. I am here today to present the quarter 1 budget reports for the budget to actual for the VCB operating business unit, beach and shoreline operating, and sports development business unit. The quarter 1 for the VCB operating, we landed at 14% of budget. And the next slide is the beach and shoreline. For that business unit, we landed at the 22% of budget for quarter 1. And the next slide is sports, and we landed there for the budget to actual at 14%. There wasn't any significant variances to call out. I mean, so I'm here to entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions on the budget?
I'll make a motion, we accept.
Second.
We have a motion by Tony, second by Pam. Any other discussions? Any public comment on this item? Come back to the council. Any objection? Objection, motion carries. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
For council information, you have some stuff in your packets, some handouts, and I don't have anything else. We'll go to the TDC members. Tony, do you have anything for us?
No, just, I'm a lacrosse player from way back, and Syracuse plays Maryland on Friday. Number 2 team against number 1 team. So if you're not doing anything Friday, it's a good thing. 6 p.m. ACC Network.
At your house?
Will it be on in the
ACC.
lounge at?
I don't think so. I'm watching it at home, sure.
Rob, do you have anything?
Nothing this time. Thank you.
Lori, do you have anything?
Thank you.
Sir.
John, do you have anything?
We do have a couple things, yes. We have next Wednesday, we have John Talmadge and Tam speaking at the Sundial on the state of the local economy, and really excited about the tourism aspect of that we'll be really showcasing. On March 10th for the Greater Fort Myers luncheon, we've got Frank Bonafilia with the Edison Awards, and on April 8th, Brian Griffin from Visit Florida will be our speaker at Annabelle Harbor. Really cool one, May 12th, and this is me putting on my FRLA seat hat. We'll be collaborating with the Sandcap Chamber, Greater Fort Myers Chamber, and FRLA to bring Lieutenant Governor Kottkamp, the CEO of Tax Watch, to give us a session update. And so that will be at Sanibel Harbor as well, and we will send those out.
Thank you. John, would you like it?
It's just an honor to be here. Thank you. I'm really proud to be on the TDC. It's such an honor. Fort Myers Beach is rocking right now. We had a putt and pub crawl last month that raised over $70,000 for our local charities. We had a Mrs. Roper event. We had over 800 people dressed up as Mrs. Roper running around town.
I saw the pictures. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then, of course, our Shrimp Fest is March 7th. I think it's our 47th or 48th. So the beach is packed. So we're really doing well.
I have to keep reminding myself that I promise never to complain about traffic again.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We're all
It's
back.
great to see it.
Nice new big hotels. So, Holly, do you have anything to say?
Traffic is picking up, and I'm going to take that as a good sign. You can take a breath. There's no place prettier than to be stuck in traffic than on Sanibel or our Sanibel Causeway. I just wanted to say a shout out. I went to Art Fest this past weekend, and I heard so many people there just giving feedback of how it was great. It seemed like it was expanded. The energy was great. I know you've got the farmers market downtown as well, and that picked up some business, so that went really well. And I just really enjoyed spending some money at that Art Fest. I always do. We just finished up our 50th anniversary, so we had, our closing event. Thank you to all of you that came. We had a great open luncheon there as we put away that capsule. We're not doing it for 50 years. We're going to do it for 25, so maybe I'll be there. We'll see. But it was a great year of celebrating our island in a year that we really needed to do that. And, You know, I'm loving seeing all the businesses open. We still have our ribbon cuttings that happen, and I hope at some point we'll taper off on those as well, because we want to just know that it's not recovery, it's just who we are now. And that's the message that we want to start promoting is here we are, it's who we are, be a part of our small town community. And then I did just want to give a shout out, John, well, I would not do this for himself, so I will. We had a great State of the Islands. It was extremely well attended, just under 250 people, really talking about everything about our islands of Sanibel and Captiva, what's going on in the future. So thank you very much for that. Packed room, great information, and I think it doesn't just stay in that room, it spreads throughout the community, through Southwest Florida, and through the state of Florida. So thanks for your work on that. So thank you very much.
Well, I know you guys were talking about a roundabout there. Did you guys finalize anything on that, or is it still up in the air?
Oh, well, I'm going to speak as one council member.
Okay.
I will say that, you know, sometimes you need to listen to your public, right? And then I also believe, Commissioner, that unless we have a solution on our causeway, this is one person, then are we just putting in something as a bottleneck? So there was some money that was being looked at through MPO for a study, but the council did call MPO. I called MPO, and then staff followed up to see if that money that was looking at a study, hate to have a study and spend that money if you're not putting it towards something, that possibly that can be put towards another item that we can use now. So I think that's on pause right now as we look at other things that are a priority.
I've never seen the headlines about it for years. A lot of the residents have been wanting to see it. We've seen the success of those throughout the county. In Buckingham, we got roundabouts now, so even a rural area like that, the community really obviously accepts it.
And I think when you look at a roundabout, you also look at how the impact of it on a daily basis, whether it's one way on and one way off, and the traffic coming, not filtering to all four areas. A successful roundabout, you've got a lot of people getting off in every direction, where ours is coming on and coming off, and we're limited.
They've moved on.
We'll talk offline on that, Commissioner. Thanks for bringing that up.
Oh, no, we want to hear it.
I bet you do. Very mixed citizen, and, you know, the citizen said, you know, we need to see what other alternatives are coming off the island, and that expansion.
Definitely would help the traffic flow.
Especially with a third lane.
Because I know how shy you are about, you know, talking about this.
Bill?
Last week, we hosted a couple layers of our Lloyd's of London insurance. They were down for a conference in Orlando, and you know, we toured them around the island, and obviously our renewal's coming up in March, and that was a hot topic, but it looks like there's a gluttony of capital coming in, which is great. We're going to see probably somewhere in the 30 to 40% reduction in insurance costs. So, you know, besides labor, that's probably the number 2 cost when you're a hotelier, and it looks like market's good, which means, you know, our car insurance, our home insurance, we should start seeing some relief, but 30, 40% is huge for us. So. And it's also one of the driving factors of when you're trying to crunch the numbers and trying to do a development, that you get that cost down. So, yep.
Great, thank you. Jay?
A little bit out there, but April 21st, FRLA is hosting their a lunch that's going to be put together by the students of Lee County. All the culinary programs are going to be doing one course, and that'll be at the school district on the 21st. More information to follow.
Continued thanks for the support that TDC gives to the city of Cape Coral. I'm happy that our economic development department spends the time to put together a package to let us all know, what the return on that investment is. But I thought it would be interesting for us to know that just yesterday in our council committee of the whole, we gave direction to establish a segregated fund as of January 1, new rental registration process and fees went into effect. And so the direction given was to establish a restricted fund for those revenues, that they would not go into the general fund, but instead be in a specific restricted fund that could only be used for 2 dedicated code enforcement officers, 2 dedicated police officers, an advanced technology system to monitor the short-term rental advertisement and reservations, and then a full-time administrator for that whole process. So not only are we happy to be recipients of the support, but we also want to be good contributors to the funds necessary to support tourism in our communities. So I thought it'd be important for you to know that not only are we on the ask side, but we're also focused on the generation side as well for the benefit of the county. And we'll be anxious to see how that progresses. And I'll certainly bring the information that comes from that technology company that we're using to monitor the reservation system and the use of those short-term rentals. And so we're anxious for a great year of contribution to the TDC through bed tax.
Thank you.
Who are you using for, do you know? Is it Norway or?
I'd have to get that to you. I'll see if I can
We'll
have a
talk
staff
offline.
member get it to you. Yeah.
Great. Way down there, Pam.
Well, down here by myself.
Speak louder.
Save the best for last. Long distance.
I did
Pam.
turn my thing back on. So yes, I do have something. Everyone, I think, knows that the Shell Factory property closed a couple weeks ago, and I just want to thank you all. I'm so sorry. So much for all your support for 27 years of what it was and who we were, and the TDC, Tim, Pamela, Cecil, thank you all. It's amazing. It went, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. We made sure that all of our staff were replaced. Our animals found fabulous new homes. And it was, sad that a Florida attraction lost its space. But thank you so much for all your years of help. I appreciate you, and I'm so sorry. I didn't think I would do this.
Pam, thank you and Tom for 27 years, because growing up here, being raised here for the last 60 years, and going there as a child, I mean, it's just been part of my life, and and thank you for keeping it going as long as you did, because it was.
Taking our kids there.
It's just.
It's sad that, that this happens, and it's happening so much, and it breaks my heart that there are so many, roadside attractions that are not going to be there anymore from when we grew up, and it's heartbreaking, but I understand, and I hope you do.
But we got to be a part of what you had, so thank you for that, seriously.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No.
But thank you all so much. Yeah, so anyway.
Does anybody else have anything else? Okay, we'll be adjourned. Thank you.